Hello, everyone. This week we're going to be talking about emotional generosity and why I think it is one of the main component that is lacking from the dating world and dating advices nowadays. So, let me start by just asking you a question. Why are you so cheap emotionally with yourself? I believe this is where it starts. We are not born and raised in environments, for the most part, where our feelings have value, where we are pushed to tailor our relationship with our inner world. A lot of what people react to positively are external accomplishments. And we do spend a lot of time, for the most part, focusing on that, getting that done. Emotional generosity is the missing piece in most dating advice, but it's also the main ingredient that we don't know how to blend in. And it's not our fault, it's just not promoted. And to be honest with you, I have been waiting for years for people to talk about this and to open up that conversation. But it's been years and years. I've been on social media and we are still not getting the information. So I figured, let's do it. Let's do it. Whether you want to listen or not, let's do it. Let's have the information out there. Emotional generosity is interesting because when we are not taught to give that to ourselves first, we can either overgive it to others and make others the source of emotional capital in our life, which I suspect can lead to very codependent dynamics, or emotional generosity, or the lack of, should I say, can lead to us feeling completely tapped out and having very little empathy or understanding of other people's needs. It sucks because when we are emotionally cheap with ourselves, which really is the other side of the coin here today, it's emotional generosity or emotional cheapness. Other people's emotions can become the illusion of a burden. Now, what happens when we are emotionally cheap? Oftentimes we become nervous at the idea of something. We tend to become rigid and be the responsible one, the one that wants to keep the peace. I've made a video last week about not bothering anyone and how it is the fastest way to stay single. I mean, it is exhausting when you think about it to want to please everyone, be nice, not bother. You're betting on what is right or what is perceived as right, where no one can come at you criticizing you or making you feel something negative. It's the avoidance of the full emotional spectrum. And when you are afraid or you are cheap with your emotions, you are afraid of a very deep part of yourself that shapes the quality of your life. I think I mentioned in previous videos how two people given the same opportunities, the same life, more or less the same depth in their relationships by others, can have a very different experience based on how they feel about themselves and how they feel about other people. You'll notice that you think a lot when you're emotionally cheap with yourself. And while your mental has to be sharp and calibrated, and that's not a negative thing by any mean, a lot of people have to do it in reverse. They're all in the emotional capital, they're very emotionally generous and overgiving, and the mental sharpness is simply not there. So everyone can learn from each other. There's no better place to be at than honestly where you're at now and wanting to add on to it instead of seeing it as a challenge or something that has to be accomplished, that has to be fixed. For a lot of people that are emotionally cheap, most of that capital is internalized intellectually through ideas, brain, and we can form intimacy in different ways, such as bonding with people through ideas, conversations, actions, But ultimately, if there is zero emotional generosity there, people will often feel replaceable with us. I believe deep down that what makes someone important to us, it's not necessarily what they do for us, but it is who it is coming from. And who you are at the core should remain the same with or without everything that you deem necessary to express yourself. When your relationships don't depend on your actions anymore, but benefit from your actions, the emotional component becomes valuable because it is who you are that makes the action valuable. It is who you are that makes the perfect pickup line interesting, or it is who you are essentially that makes someone want to spend time with you, not just because of how brilliant you are, not just because of how much accomplishment you've had, but because of your uniqueness and that you are one of a kind and that you understand that deeply. Now, a lot of people might say, well, no, no, no. I have to prove myself. I have to earn my relationships. I am made to build, and then someone receives that. Oftentimes, we want to be loved for who we are, but we are not being very honest about it. And when we are perceived by someone in front of us in the context of dating, it is not clear to them that we want to be loved for who we are, or that what matters is who we are at the core, because we are leading with our accomplishments. When we are not displaying ourselves honestly and genuinely in front of other people, they assume based on what we give them. And that sometimes can be part of the answer as to why we continue to attract people that are not good for us. Our gut feeling is just not feeling right with them. But there seems to be no other options. That is literally all that we are attracting. And here's the deal: emotions do get a bad rep. It seems like it doesn't lead to results, it's not being productive, it's being seen as weak. But it seems like what I'm hearing from most women in my life and that I talk to randomly, they're looking for emotional intelligence. And that is the one thing that people are overlooking. And this is the beauty of it, right? Emotional intelligence combines those two things. And hence why I was saying, if you've just been in your head, you've been thinking for a long time and analyzing your every move and trying to plot how to do things right, you already have awareness and this form of intelligence in you. But once we add the real emotional capital that you have inside of your heart for the real reasons that only you know, that's when we start to move mountains. And we don't have to hide behind our success, our accomplishments. And I get it. It feels safer. People do get impressed with those things and we're proud. But there's also the other side of the coin where people will hear that and take advantage. And this is a real fear that a lot of people have, the fear of being taken advantage of. Why? Because most of the time they are taking advantage of themselves. Why? Because they're basically objectifying themselves to begin and leading with that idea of who they should be instead of opening up and being ready to give love the same way that you have given yourself success or given yourself freedom or given yourself autonomy. You have proof that you've been able to accomplish these things and to put yourself first and to lead. And those are the qualities that really matter and that can be felt when honesty is part of the equation. When emotions are paired in that equation, wow, that is absolutely incredible to witness, because suddenly you are present, you are able to witness who's in front of you, you are able to open up emotionally, not based on, once again, what you think you should do, but based on what is genuinely happening in front of you. Oftentimes, what gets in the way of us being emotionally open to the way that we could and the way that we deserve, we are so used to receiving either praise or positive reactions or success acting a certain way that we just keep that hat on. And here we are on dates wearing the same hat that has gotten us the promotion or the startup business or the connections, whatever the case might be. We're operating with the same vision and we are looking for the same cues. And the person in front of us, more often than not, can feel replaceable. What I mean by someone feeling replaceable in our presence is when we're focused on the outcome. And the emotional generosity depends on the outcome that we get. And so we're not really in the moment. And sometimes we can almost feel entitled for some people because of all the achievements that we've had and how easy it may feel as of now for us. So why is it that this date is not going as easily? Why is it that this is giving me confusion or that I have to work hard to make this work? It should be easy. It's a completely different ballpark. And then the person in front of you feel that. If that's the case, if you're a high achiever and you're wearing that hat all the time and you're laser focused on your mission, if going on a date triggers a feeling of annoyance and just wanting to get to the point, if I am being honest with you 100%, a deep emotional relationship might not be what you're really looking for at this point in time. If the feeling of a date right now is this is taking time away from my mission, this is taking time away from my success, this is the feeling that you're sharing, by the way, and it is very easy to detect. It feels uncanny and it feels cheap. It feels like the other person's time isn't valued and that your own time isn't quite valued because here you are on a date when emotionally what you want is more time to work and you're just not being congruent with that. And we have that dichotomy where you're sending one signal but you're feeling the other. And you think you want a relationship because most people have a relationship maybe at your age, or you want to hit the big goal of the wedding ring, and which we'll talk about in another video. But ultimately your heart is not there and the emotion of annoyance or waste of time is the main thing that is being felt. Same thing last week when we were talking about wanting to not bother and playing small and making sure that we don't bother anyone, that everyone likes us, that we are nice to everyone. Ultimately, there will be a frustration building up because we are always doing this for others. And when we start to realize that it doesn't go our way, we may need 10, 15 lessons or people that are going to teach us radical choice of self and radical honesty, but it will happen. We'll be tested and we'll be shown that ultimately we are walking in the wrong direction for us. When we are emotionally cheap, we are not even able to enjoy. That's what we talked about in the beginning. When we're emotionally cheap with ourselves, we're not able to enjoy the process. That is one clear sign that we are not tuned in. We depend on external results and milestones and being seen in those milestones. We are very competitive with time and afraid of time, and time being a big component that we play with. There's a lot of comparison that happens. So we're looking around and comparing at other people. There is a sense of superiority that is built from our accomplishments because that is essentially external and it's an emotion and it compensates for what we can't access naturally. Those are signs that emotional generosity might not be fully wired in yet, but it is definitely there. It is in your human potential. It is in your human nature. And according to research, most little boys are more emotional than little girls, but they are trained to become less emotional with time, as anger is an emotion, etc. And when we think of emotion, sometimes we're like happy and sad, black and white, but there is so much more. Like I said, given the same circumstances, two people can have a drastically different experience. Why? Because of the meaning they attribute to it. And the beauty of it is that once we start using our brain in a way that serves us and elevates us, then we are unstoppable. When we align our heart's desire with our consciousness to elevate the heart's desire, paired with insane willpower, which is what has gotten you to this point so far, or even just not giving up so far, by the way, that's insane willpower if you're given shit circumstances. When we pair all of these things together, then who we are inside of the human body can externalize. And while we went really deep in a lot of ways, and I gave some examples about people that feel the need to perform, are not really present in dates, do let me know which part interested you the most so I can expand a little bit deeper. Like I said, I love to explore topics, but feel free to add to it in the comments. Now, I want to end this with a reminder that I think is really important from this video, which is the way to become more emotionally generous is to give ourselves the time and the space to feel. And that can start today if you are ready to do so. When we are on dates with other people, that will allow us to connect deeper and to feel like we're sharing something unique, because no one can have that same moment again with that person in front of you. Once it's gone, it's gone. And the more meaning you attribute to your life and the time that you share with others, the more they feel important with you and the more they want to do for you. It is like a feedback loop. So if you've been happy with objectifying yourself and other people, that is absolutely fine, and there is someone for you out there that will be happy with that. But if you are ready to step into the next layer, or maybe you've been there and you've just been wanting to be honest with yourself, I would say the one little thing we can end this video with is next time you spend time with someone, be present, observant, and share how you feel. Take that 3 seconds to let something land before feeling like you have to answer. You have to keep this going so that it went good by the end. Stop seeing human interactions as a goal because we live in capitalism. That is good for your work, perhaps, but when you are with people, be curious about which hat are you wearing, and is it the one that you actually want to be seen with today? I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave a little like, leave a little comment, check out my website in the description. I also have tons of social media, Instagram, TikTok, other YouTube channel where I do meditations. You can find that in the description once again. My name is mashakatasonov, and it was a pleasure to have you here today.